Tucked away at the southern edge of South America, Patagonia is a world where ice, stone, and wind have carved out Earth's wildest, most majestic contours. There are no clear boundaries here, only a quiet transition between the towering Andes and the churning ocean, between sunlit glaciers and the parched grasslands that stretch beyond the horizon. From the Colorado River in northern Argentina to the Strait of Magellan at the southern tip of Chile, Patagonia stretches more than 1,000 kilometers from north to south and spans nearly 1 million square kilometers, covering close to 30% of the combined land area of these two countries. The history of this land begins deep beneath Earth's crust. Around 200 million years ago, the supercontinent Gondwana, a massive landmass that once linked South America, Africa, Oceania, and Antarctica, began to break apart. Tectonic plates cracked, shifted, and collided. At the meeting point of two great plates, the South American plate and the Nazca plate, a stretch of land began to rise from the ocean floor. That was the birth of the Andes. The uplift came with the roar of magma and violent eruptions that raged from the Jurassic period to the Cretaceous. As lava cooled, layer upon layer of basalt built up over millions of years, forming geological steppes like the folds of time itself, etched into the surface of Patagonia as Earth's own handwritten notes from the past. The North Patagonian batholith, a massive structure deep within the Earth, still holds the fossil memory of those ancient eruptions. Then came the Pleistocene around 2 million years ago, reshaping the land once more, carving, grinding, pushing stone and sand, and rearranging the entire landscape. U-shaped valleys, vast, smooth cuts through the land like knife slices through a stone cake, were born from that era. That's why Patagonia's climate isn't exactly forgiving to life. To the west, temperate rainforests soak up more than 2,000 millimeters of rainfall each year, carried in by southwestern winds from the Pacific Ocean. But just a few kilometers to the east, that moisture drops sharply, falling to less than 200 millimeters annually. And from within those extremes, and across this gravel-strewn land, the Patagonian fox emerges like a true survival artist. Its pale gray coat, tinged with reddish-brown blends, seamlessly into the dry grasslands. It moves with a light, swift gait, like a shadow slipping through the golden light of dusk. It doesn't need to be loud or dazzling. Its quiet presence alone commands nature's respect. These foxes are intelligent omnivores, capable of hunting small rodents as well as insects. When the dry season strips the land bare, even shriveled fruits and seeds can carry them through another day. While other animals fight over scraps of fresh meat, they make full use of what remains, feeding on carrion left behind. This is not just a survival tactic, it's an essential ecological role. They help clean the environment, prevent the spread of disease, and keep the cycle of nutrients in motion. Through their silent, efficient presence, they serve as the unsung background players in Patagonia's grand natural symphony. Torres del Paine National Park, where jagged granite peaks rise like spears piercing through the clouds, forming surreal shapes under the cold morning light. It's no coincidence that this land is considered one of the most biologically diverse areas in southern Patagonia. Within just a few hundred square kilometers, scientists have recorded 118 species of birds and 25 species of mammals. Their uneven distribution is shaped by the park's rugged and dramatic terrain. With just a few steps, elevation can shift by hundreds of meters. And within the span of an afternoon, the landscape can shift from dry grasslands to misty mountain slopes. Amid this vast wilderness, the culture of the gauchos, the region's traditional cattle herders, still lingers at way stations, around campfire stories, and in the way they face down the wind and the passing of time. Archaeological traces of the native Tehuelche people are still found in rocky shelters, preserving an ancient story of life, hunting, and adaptation in this challenging land. Along the iconic W Trek, a nearly 80-kilometer hiking route that weaves through the park, every footstep marks a milestone in a journey through a living geological world. From U-shaped valleys carved by ancient glaciers, to waterfalls that thunder down from heights of several dozen meters, to hillsides draped in golden dry grass and low shrubs. But what draws people most is the chance to encounter wild animals in their untouched, natural habitat. Across the vast steppe, where faded grass trembles beneath the endless chill of the wind, herds of wild horses appear like living symbols of freedom and endurance. They are not native to this land, yet here in this distant place, they have found a second home, wild, unforgiving, and deeply generous. The wild horses of Torres del Paine are descendants of horses brought to South America by Europeans in the 16th century, alongside waves of conquest, settlement, and exploration. Over time, some individuals escaped domestication, returned to the wild, and gradually adapted to the harsh conditions of the region. Here, they are known as baguales, wild horses born from the memory of humanity and the longing of nature. Torres del Paine is an open world where geology and ecology weave together in an intricate web. In this shared space, wild horses live alongside guanacos, pumas, and a wide array of native birds. They serve as a key link in the ecological balance, helping to control invasive vegetation, while their movements influence the behavior of predators that roam these lands. Today, the sight of wild horse herds roaming beneath the peaks of Torres del Paine draws not only scientists, but also nature lovers from around the world. Trekking tours and off-road expeditions often combine sweeping journeys across the steppe, with the chance to observe these horses from afar. A recommended minimum distance of 15 meters is always advised to avoid disrupting their natural rhythm. In the soft evening light, as mist drifts across the surface of Lake Pehoe, a galloping herd moves through the sunburned grass, creating a picture-perfect moment, one where time seems to pause in quiet awe. Meanwhile, The crested caracara quietly trails behind the hunt. It knows that when darkness settles after the clash of survival, the scraps left behind will be the reward for those who wait. Nicknamed the Mexican eagle, the crested caracara carries a vintage kind of presence, part pride, part cunning, and largely built on wisdom. It thrives on opportunity, feeding on carrion, insects, bird eggs, and even leftovers discarded by other animals. But behind what might appear to be scavenger behavior lies a resilient survival strategy, one that reflects exceptional adaptability to the harsh ecosystems of this land. According to a 2024 study from Birds of the World, the crested caracara isn't just a passive feeder on remains. It also actively hunts small prey and explores a broad menu of ground-based food sources, from reptiles and small mammals to fledgling birds. Crested caracaras live alone or in pairs, occasionally gathering in small groups when a carcass appears. They don't hesitate to steal food from other species, even larger ones, acting on an instinct that's unbound by hierarchy and guided solely by the rules of opportunity. This dietary flexibility not only allows them to survive the dry Patagonian steppe, but also to thrive in a variety of habitats, from high mountain ranges and sparse forests to the coastal edges of Patagonia. As the dry Patagonian steppe fades away to the east, the western side of Patagonia unveils an entirely different world, a deep green, shadowed, and rain-soaked realm nestled beneath the towering Andes. It is the snow-capped peaks that block Pacific moisture, transforming this region into one of the rare and remarkable temperate rainforests of the southern hemisphere. Welcome to the Andean Patagonian forest, an ancient woodland that feels as though it stepped straight out of the dinosaur age, where life weaves, hides, and multiplies in a cycle of quiet resilience. Annual rainfall here exceeds 2,000 millimeters, blanketing damp trunks and thick layers of moss carpeting the forest floor. Nothofagus forests, also known as southern beech, cover much of the area, with wide-spreading canopies, lichen-draped bark, and root systems that intertwine like underground webs to resist erosion on the rocky slopes. Winters last more than 6 months, with temperatures that stay low but steady. This creates the perfect environment for a tightly woven, stable ecological structure, one that is as enduring as it is demanding. Dispersing the seeds of mistletoe, a signature plant species that forms a delicate symbiotic relationship with the Nothofagus trees. When the Nothofagus pumilio forests of the Andean Patagonian region still stood vibrant and green, no one could have foreseen that a change from across the globe would rewrite the ecosystem here entirely. In 1946, with just 20 North American beavers introduced from Canada to Lake Fagnano, a new chapter began. But it wasn't a story of harmonious adaptation. It was one of quiet, yet profound, invasion. With no natural predators like wolves or bears, and equipped with an innate engineering instinct, the beavers quickly did what they do best. They built dams. At first, it was just small trees. Then, entire streams were blocked. Artificial dams rose, water levels climbed, and forest trees stood in silent decay, condemned by a species that had never belonged to the evolutionary thread of this land. From that small founding group by 2025, the North American beaver population in Tierra del Fuego had surpassed 100,000 individuals, spreading across the southern temperate rainforests of Patagonia, But the damage didn't stop at stagnant water or fallen trees. The Nothofagus pumilio forest, built by cold-tolerant but flood-sensitive trees, began losing its ability to regenerate. Woodlands that once sheltered dozens of native bird and mammal species turned into lifeless zones. The very water that once nourished the land became a force of destruction. Human infrastructure also began to suffer. Roads cracked and crumbled, pastures used for grazing turned into swamps. What the beaver symbolizes in North America as a model of industriousness and coexistence with nature here became an agent of ecological transformation, reshaping the landscape in ways that may never be reversed. But the invasion of the North American beaver has disrupted both the food chain and the habitat of the Magellanic woodpecker. The Magellanic woodpecker, the largest woodpecker in South America, stands out with its impressive size, measuring between 40 and 45 centimeters in length. The male wears a vivid red crest that blazes against the forest's shadowy green, while the female sports a sleek jet-black plumage with a gently curved crown that suggests quiet pride. They hunt by selecting a spot on a tree and drilling deep into the trunk, unearthing wood-boring insect larvae, adult beetles, and occasionally spiders or small lizards. When needed, they also feed on sap, fruit, and even eggs or nestlings from other birds. This dietary range allows them to adapt to various conditions, but only when the forest retains its original structure. According to the most recent research from 2024, forests overtaken by beavers lose up to 60% of their vegetative cover within just 15 years. For the Magellanic woodpecker, this means they are forced to search for more remote, less disturbed woodlands, or face life in degraded habitats with fewer food sources and less cover. As the Andean Patagonian forest retreats further south, at its final edge, the Beagle Channel emerges. A narrow, deep blue corridor stretched between glacial mountains and silver seas. On its windless surface, small boats glide past hundreds of low-lying rocky islets. The air is piercingly cold, yet crystal clear, rich with the tang of salt and the scent of wet moss. The traces of the Yamana, also known as the Yagan, still remain here, not in castles or temples, but in ancient stone hearths that lie quietly on Isla Navarino. They were a people of the canoe, clothed not in fabric, but in seal fat, fish skin, and the flames that never died out. They survived winter by carrying fire in their hands and kept their spirits alive through sacred rituals in the wind and snow. Wherever their boats came ashore, a fire was lit, not just for warmth, but as a prayer, a thread connecting people to the sea, to the forest, and to their ancestors. The Yamana lived by hunting and gathering, moving constantly through a maze of rocky islands and narrow fjords, surviving in a climate where the temperature rarely rose above 10 degrees Celsius. Men hunted seals, while women dove into waters just above freezing to gather shellfish and sea urchins. No other people lived as close to the ocean as they did. They were the embodiment of life between water and fire. Today in Ushuaia, the Museo Yamana brings their world to life with models, artifacts, and stories, allowing modern visitors to touch a time long past when fire meant life itself. Not far from there, the presence of other indigenous groups like the Tehuelche and Mapuche remains etched into the land and stone. The Tehuelche, warriors of the steppe, once hunted Guanaco across the eastern plains. They left rock paintings, abstract images of journeys, sacred animals, and mythic beings. The Mapuche, from the forests of the north, brought with them a spiritual worldview deeply tied to trees and sky. Pyre Mapu as the soul of the earth, Kalfu Pilan as the guardian spirit of the sky. They believed their ancestors lived within the roots of trees and in the whispering wind that danced atop the mountains. Have you ever had a moment that made you feel small in the face of nature? Share it with us in the comments below. As the dense forest shadows fade to the east and the Andes begin to give way to a world of blinding white, the journey continues into the southern Patagonian ice field. Straddling Chile and Argentina, where the terrain rises steep and the cold wind never stops blowing, this glacier system is the second largest ice mass outside the polar regions, covering over 12,000 square kilometers. To the east, where rain-laden clouds from the Pacific fail to cross the mountains, the Patagonian plateau emerges, harsh and barren. This is one of the driest regions in South America, receiving only 150 to 200 millimeters of precipitation per year. Southwestern winds howl day and night, reaching speeds of up to 100 kilometers per hour. Summer temperatures rarely climb above 15 degrees Celsius, and winter often plunges well below -10 degrees Celsius for months on end. The ecosystem here is not a cradle of abundant life. It is the final test of endurance. Along icy slopes where light bends through freezing mist, life appears in its smallest, most tenacious forms. Microorganisms survive between fragile layers of ice. Seabirds arrive with the seasons, and a few highly adapted mammals endure the cold and scarcity. Beneath the surface, glacial rivers flow silently through frozen channels. In some places, the ice itself moves at a rate of nearly 2 meters per day. The crackling of breaking ice and the high-pitched hiss of meltwater in hidden crevasses create a haunting soundscape, a background symphony for a land where it seems no one is listening. At the southern ice fields, the Perito Moreno Glacier moves like a living force, nearly 30 kilometers long and plunging to depths of 700 meters. Trekking across Perito Moreno is one of those rare experiences that feels like stepping into the Earth's core. Outfitted with crampons and harnesses, participants move slowly over jagged ice, exploring deep crevasses, spiral-shaped moulins, and sinkholes carved by meltwater. The wind here is cold, but not as chilling as the beauty that quiets the soul. Every step is a gentle reminder. Nature does not ask for praise, it asks to be understood. On the glacier's white-gray surface, cracks stretch like blades drawn across frozen skin. Weak sunlight filters through misty clouds, striking blue ice caves and casting shimmering reflections on the water like windows to another world. Then suddenly, a massive chunk of ice collapses into the lake, a calving event, shattering in a thunderous roar, sending white spray skyward and rippling waves across the icy surface. It's a moment that cannot be predicted, yet always leaves its witnesses breathless. Perito Moreno Glacier remains one of the few glaciers in the world that is still advancing rather than retreating, thanks to a rare balance between snowfall accumulation and melting. Each day, it shifts more than 1 meter toward Lake Argentino, moving silently yet powerfully, producing deep, echoing cracks that sound like drums beating from within the earth. When summer arrives, in just a brief window of weeks, melting ice gives rise to meltwater lakes. Cold, glassy mirrors shimmering against a backdrop of silver white. These temporary pools become vital rest stops for migratory birds and mark the beginning of a fragile food chain in the frozen land. In these frigid alpine waters, the Andean flamingo sometimes appears. Rarer, fewer in number, and just as vulnerable. The two flamingo species live side by side like the final notes of an ancient melody, one in which nature shows no mercy, yet still leaves space for beauty born of hardship. Their distinctive curved bills are masterpieces of survival. With a finely tuned filtering system, the Chilean flamingo can pump water through its bill up to 6 times per second. Each motion traps a thin layer of algae and microscopic plankton, tiny bursts of energy that help the birds endure the cold. Beneath the clear water, their movements weave invisible biological circles across the lake's surface, delicate yet defiant. But the presence of these birds is inseparable from the breath of ice. The ice forms the lake feeds life, and once the ice melts too quickly, the lake disappears. According to a 2024 report by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, the Chilean flamingo is listed among the species most vulnerable to climate change, as the loss of saline wetland habitats forces them to either migrate or face starvation. Migration is their strategy. Beneath a sky torn open by the jagged silhouette of Mount Fitzroy, wind lashes across the blinding white ice fields and an impossible environment. For the Andean condor, death is life. Every decaying body torn apart by its hooked beak nourishes not only the bird itself, but also cleanses the unforgiving landscape. It is the quiet janitor of the ecosystem, removing carcasses, halting the spread of disease, a role no other species can fill. But that existence is under threat. Once flying the length of the Andes from Colombia to Tierra del Fuego, today the Andean condor's population has seen a sharp decline. In Patagonia, fewer than 700 individuals are estimated to remain, most clustered near the southern ice fields. The primary threats, secondary poisoning, when they feed on carcasses laced with toxins, and habitat loss from ongoing resource extraction. From May to December each year, the calm, shallow waters of the Valdés Peninsula become a gathering place for thousands of southern right whales arriving from across the South Atlantic. Their massive tails rise and fall on the glassy surface, creating a scene that is both majestic and serene. The deep, echoing sounds of their exhalations carry across the bay like wind rushing through cliff walls, captivating kayakers paddling through the still waters of Golfo Nuevo. In the traditions of the indigenous Tehuelche, whales are seen as ancestral sediment spirits, each whale embodying a soul returning to the earthly world. Similarly, the Mapuche regard them as spirits from the deep, bearing messages from the divine. The southern right whale, reaching lengths of up to 17 meters and weighing around 80 to 90 tons, is easily recognized by the rough callosities on its head, each individual marked by a unique pattern. They use baleen plates to filter feed on copepods and krill, straining nourishment from the sea. Notably, whale calves consume up to 300 liters of milk per day, fueling rapid growth in their early weeks of life. Their migration is not guided by instinct alone, but also shaped by learning. Studies have shown that southern right whales learn their migratory routes and feeding grounds by following their mothers, a behavior passed down from one generation to the next. Though protected since 1931, the species still faces serious threats. In October 2022, 30 whales were reported dead in the waters off Valdés Peninsula, including 26 adults and 4 calves. Collisions with ships, climate change, and marine pollution continue to impact the species' recovery. Adding complexity to this ecosystem is the unusual and troubling interaction between the kelp gull and the southern right whale. The kelp gull, with its striking black and white plumage, has developed a unique foraging behavior, pecking directly at the whales' backs to feed on their blubber. First observed in the 1970s, this behavior has increased significantly over the past 3 decades, particularly targeting mother-calf pairs. These attacks not only leave open wounds on the whales' backs, but also disrupt their behavior and overall health. Whales often respond by diving or changing their swimming patterns to avoid harassment, interrupting crucial activities like resting or nursing their young. The growing frequency and severity of these attacks have raised serious conservation concerns, especially as calf mortality has risen sharply in this region, with at least 626 deaths recorded between 2003 and 2014. Current conservation efforts are focusing on better understanding the relationship between kelp gulls and southern right whales, in hopes of developing strategies to minimize the negative impact and safeguard the survival of both species within this uniquely balanced ecosystem. Not far from there, hundreds of thousands of Magellanic penguin pairs gather at the Valdés Peninsula, forming one of the most densely populated nesting colonies in South America. Their calls echo across the coastal grasslands, and tiny heads poke up from sandy burrows, creating a vibrant portrait of the life cycle in motion. Magellanic penguins, easily recognized by their classic black and white plumage and 2 distinct black bands under the chin, typically nest in burrows dug into sand or beneath low shrubs, about 20 meters from the shoreline. Every day they walk from the sea to their nests, sometimes covering distances of up to 2 kilometers, to feed their chicks and defend their territory. This persistence reveals both the strong instinct and impressive adaptability of these birds to thrive in such a harsh environment. According to BirdLife International in 2024, the global breeding population of Magellanic penguins is estimated at around 1.3 million pairs. Roughly 900,000 of these nest along the Argentine coast, 100,000 on the Falkland Islands, and between 144,000 to 500,000 pairs in Chile. At Valdés Peninsula, about 150,000 breeding pairs make their home, making the site one of the most vital locations for the conservation of the species. In their foraging journeys, Magellanic penguins demonstrate remarkable diving capabilities. While they typically dive to depths between 20 and 50 meters to hunt for small fish and squid, they can reach a maximum depth of up to 90 meters. This ability allows them to tap into rich food sources deep beneath the surface, ensuring the survival and growth of their young in one of the ocean's most dynamic marine environments. Along the untouched beaches of the Valdés Peninsula, the southern elephant seal appears like a gentle giant of the ocean. This is the only site on the Argentine mainland where southern elephant seals come to breed, with around 20,000 individuals gathering during the season. Each year, starting in late August, the first males arrive, establishing territories and preparing for the breeding period. These massive animals can reach lengths of up to 5.8 meters and weigh around 3,000 kilograms. Their signature trunk-like nose allows them to produce deep, resonant bellows, calls of dominance that echo across the shore. Not long after, pregnant females arrive, about 2.8 meters long and weighing around 600 kilograms, seeking safe places to give birth. Dominant males form harems that may include dozens of females, sometimes up to 100. After giving birth, the females nurse their pups for roughly 3 weeks, during which they do not eat or drink, relying solely on their thick fat reserves. Once this period ends, the pups are weaned and the mothers return to the sea. After the breeding season, the southern elephant seal enters its annual molting phase, spending weeks stretched out on the beaches, shedding old skin and fur. During this time, they also fast, again depending entirely on their fat stores. When they return to the ocean, they become exceptional divers, capable of descending to depths of up to 1,500 meters and holding their breath for 20 to 30 minutes while hunting squid and fish. In the coastal town of Puerto Pyramides, the rhythm of human life flows seamlessly with the rhythm of the sea. From here, small boats take visitors offshore, bringing them face to face with the rounded backs of whales and the lively barking of sea lions. Under the bright summer sun, along the Valdés Peninsula shoreline, the massive bodies of South American sea lions lie motionless against the scorching sand. The total population of South American sea lions along the South American coast is currently estimated at around 265,000 individuals. At Valdés Peninsula alone, up to 3,000 can gather on rocky sites like Punta Pyramides, making it one of the most crowded and spectacular breeding colonies along the Atlantic coast. Here, life is revealed not only in individual presence, but in every interaction, every sound, every gust of wind that rustles the canvas tents of biologists monitoring the colony. The scent of sea salt mingles with the murmur of waves, suspending time in the breath of wildlife. Adult males, with thick manes around their necks, like natural cloaks, stretch out in the sand, displaying raw authority over the harems they command. A single harem may include anywhere from 3 to 18 females, bound by a dynamic of protection, fierce competition, and the urgency of reproduction. But at the edges of these harems, calm is never guaranteed. Territoryless males, often younger, more aggressive, linger like shadows, waiting for their chance to break in. When disputes erupt, the beach trembles beneath clashes of muscle and threatening bellows. Sometimes, in the chaos of an unsuccessful takeover, a pup is separated from its mother, its cry echoing amid the storm of overlapping sounds. Yet, the South American sea lion is far more than a sunbather on sand. In the deep blue waters near Puerto Madryn, diving with sea lions at Punta Loma Reserve is an experience many describe as magical. Curious, sociable individuals dart through the cool waves, spinning and glancing back with wide, inquisitive eyes. It's no wonder they've become one of the most vibrant symbols of Patagonia's coastline, where the sea is not just a home, but a stage for a dance of survival. South American sea lions play a vital role in the marine ecosystem. They help control populations of small fish, maintaining balance in the food web. At the same time, they are a key food source for apex predators like orcas. Positioned within the food chain and at the center of countless biological interactions, They are an irreplaceable link in the greater tapestry of Patagonia's Atlantic coast. At Valdés Peninsula, one of the ocean's most dramatic and rare spectacles unfolds as the apex predator of the sea, the orca, demonstrates a hunting strategy found nowhere else on Earth. Gentle waves lap the shore, but tension fills the air as an orca silently approaches from the distance. With razor-sharp precision, it surges out of the water, heaving its massive body onto the wet sand in a calculated attempt to seize a young South American sea lion playing near the shoreline. This intentional, beaching behavior isn't a hardwired instinct. It's a learned skill, passed down through careful observation and practice across generations. Only about 23 orcas in the world perform this technique, and every one of them is found right here at Valdés Peninsula. Orcas, the largest members of the dolphin family, can grow up to 9 meters long and weigh as much as 10 tons. Their striking black bodies, white bellies, and bold white patches behind the eyes make them instantly recognizable and awe-inspiring. At Valdés Peninsula, a resident population of around 25 orcas plays a critical role in the local marine ecosystem. Their peak hunting season takes place from March to May, and again in October and November. During these months, they gather near Punta Norte, where large numbers of sea lion pups are learning to swim and navigating their first encounters with the sea. The orcas take advantage of this inexperience, launching bold and carefully timed attacks. The beaching tactic requires extraordinary skill. An orca must calculate the precise timing and angle of approach to catch the prey while ensuring it can safely slide back into the ocean. It is a learned, practiced behavior, proof of the species' incredible intelligence and adaptability. Their presence at Valdés Peninsula does more than help regulate prey populations. It has become a magnet for scientists and wildlife enthusiasts alike. Trekking to Punta Norte to witness this unique predatory behavior has become a must-do for anyone drawn to wild nature. So what do you think? Which species in Patagonia do you believe comes closest to human intelligence? The cunning orca, the clever, opportunistic birds of prey, or perhaps the silent, strategic puma? As Valdés Peninsula closes behind with the echoing calls of whales and sun-warmed sands, the journey drifts ever southward, toward the edge of the continent, where Patagonia meets its final frontier. There lies Tierra del Fuego, the land of fire, a name that suggests warmth, yet opens not with light, but with frozen winds and a cold, endless ocean. On the map, it appears as a fractured shard drifting across the Strait of Magellan, stretching toward Antarctica as if reaching for the world's final breath. The Strait of Magellan, once a lifeline for explorers of the Age of Discovery, now serves as a natural biological corridor, where deep, icy ocean currents rise to meet the seafloor and bring with them layers of ancient sediment. It is where the sea touches ice, where deep-sea habitats blend into coastal ecosystems, and where the currents carry not just salt, but life itself. The wind from the Beagle Channel sweeps across the cold, rocky shores of Tierra del Fuego, carrying the steady heartbeat of a journey thousands of kilometers long. In these frigid waters, massive black backs rise and fall with the waves, and powerful exhalations shoot high into the summer sun like silver pillars of mist. Over 155 individual humpback whales have been recorded here during the end and beginning months of the year, a number that continues to grow, signaling their deepening loyalty to these southern seas. Each season, they travel more than 8,000 kilometers from the coasts of Panama, Colombia, or Ecuador. It is a journey not simply for survival, but for nurturing life, for continuing an evolutionary rhythm that has echoed for over 10 million years. They reach an average length of 17 meters and weigh more than 40 tons. Their long pectoral fins, nearly 1/3 the length of their bodies, are not just for swimming, but tools of communication, performance, and social ritual beneath the waves. But perhaps most impressive is their hunting technique. Intricate spirals of rising bubbles, crafted deep below, used to corral small fish like the Fuegian sprat into tight schools before the whale surges upward, mouth wide, engulfing the feast of the sea. Each time a humpback surfaces in Tierra del Fuego, it marks the delicate balance of an entire ecosystem. They are not just inhabitants of the ocean. They are the very breath of Patagonia, where nature has never stopped telling a story of resilience. And in that story, any shift in the Humboldt current, any tremble in the climate, has the power to rewrite the fate of these colossal travelers. Beneath the low, cold skies of Tierra del Fuego, sea winds from the Beagle Channel sweep past sheer rock faces, leaving behind trails of white foam drifting across the steel-gray surface of the water. Here, where the ocean meets the wild rocky edge of the world, herds of South American fur seals bask in the pale sunlight. Quiet, constant presences woven into the very fabric of this far southern landscape. Their sleek bodies, covered in dense, dark fur, cluster closely together on slick stones, blending almost seamlessly into the silver-gray palette of rock and wave. These animals are drawn to Tierra del Fuego not just as part of their natural migratory range, but because its waters are rich in food and still relatively untouched by human interference. With a thick layer of blubber beneath their waterproof coats, South American fur seals are well equipped to retain heat in such harsh, frigid environments. They hunt mostly at night, diving deep under the cover of darkness to catch fish and squid, both abundant in these perpetually cold waters. On quiet summer days, it's not uncommon to spot nearby sea lion colonies erupting in noisy disputes as males battle over territory and breeding rights. Along the remote rocky shores of Tierra del Fuego, harems form each breeding season, where a dominant male mates with several females. Each year, the females give birth to a single pup after roughly 11 months of gestation. The pups remain on the rocks, nursing while their mothers forage at sea. Their chances of survival depend directly on the availability of food and the conditions brought by Tierra del Fuego's ever-changing weather. As frigid Atlantic winds sweep endlessly through the icy fjords of Tierra del Fuego, a dark silhouette cuts through the freezing waters, a living emblem of nature's remarkable adaptability. The leopard seal, long known as a resident of Antarctic seas, is now making increasingly frequent appearances in the far south of Patagonia, particularly in the Atlantic coast region of Tierra del Fuego, drawing the attention of scientists worldwide. From 1927 to 2023, there have been 438 recorded sightings of this species in Chile, with 75% of them concentrated in two key hotspots, San Rafael Lagoon National Park in northern Patagonia and Parry Fjord in Tierra del Fuego. Notably, in the past 15 years, reports of their presence have jumped from 4% to 18% annually, an indication of a significant expansion in their range. Even more compelling, evidence of reproduction in Chile, including at least 14 confirmed pups and 2 females observed giving birth multiple times, suggests that this population is not only stable, but potentially growing. Adult female leopard seals can reach lengths of about 3.5 meters and weigh up to 600 kilograms, making them larger than males. They are solitary hunters, often operating in open waters and nearshore zones. Their long-range mobility and ability to adapt to a wide variety of environments have enabled them to extend their range far beyond their traditional icy domain. Their presence in Tierra del Fuego shows their surprising capacity to thrive in less glacial habitats, where narrow fjords and tide-fed glaciers still offer ideal conditions for hunting and breeding. Leopard seals are known for their versatile predatory skills. They hunt not only fish and squid, but also seabirds, and even other seals. In Tierra del Fuego, they've been observed using ambush tactics, lying in wait before launching sudden attacks, showcasing their agility and strategic hunting behavior. With sharp, interlocking teeth and a powerful jaw structure, they are equipped to handle a wide variety of prey. Proof that nature's apex predators are constantly rewriting the boundaries of their survival. As winds from the Drake Sea cut through the grassy shores of Bahia Inútil, black and white patches of king penguins quietly emerge against the frozen landscape. Their majesty doesn't come from loud calls or powerful wing beats, but from the resilience evident in every movement. From distant migratory populations in South Georgia and the Kerguelen Islands, they have made their way to Tierra del Fuego, closer now to the South American mainland. Here, a new resident group has been recorded since 2010 and is now protected within a dedicated reserve. Living between latitudes 45 and 55 degrees south, the king penguin is the second largest penguin species in the world. Reaching up to 95 centimeters tall and weighing over 15 kilograms. They don't build nests, but instead incubate their eggs on their feet for more than 50 days in the freezing cold. Each parent takes turns incubating, hunting in the deep ocean, and returning by memory, calling for each other among thousands of excited cries. Once hatched, the chicks are fed stomach milk and grow within creches, a perfectly organized survival model amid a harsh natural environment. Their diving ability is exceptional, with recorded depths of over 340 meters, each dive lasting nearly 10 minutes. During the day, they hunt in waters between 100 and 300 meters deep. They target small fish, such as Electrona carlsbergi, along with krill and squid, the ocean's microscopic creatures. Living on the Antarctic fringe, yet facing massive global shifts, king penguins are at risk of losing their habitat due to rising ocean temperatures and the collapse of prey populations carried by ocean currents. By 2100, projections suggest that around 70% of this species may be forced to relocate or disappear altogether if coastal zones can no longer sustain the conditions needed for their breeding cycle. And like a quiet whisper in Patagonia's cold wind, each of their steps is a reminder that life in this place is not freely given, but earned through millions of years of evolution. Coinciding with the first ever World Glacier Day, hundreds of people watched from afar in complete silence. It wasn't just a physical event. It was a signal. Each block of ice breaking away, each drop melting into Lake Argentino was a warning about climate change. It was also a reminder that glaciers are not just breathtaking landscapes, they are vast freshwater reservoirs, ecological buffers that stabilize entire groundwater systems and river basins. At the edge of the world, Patagonia does not whisper. It roars, reminding us that survival is sacred. To protect and restore Patagonia, a range of solutions has been put into action. In Chile, the Ruta de los Parques de la Patagonia project has connected 17 national parks, forming a vast ecological corridor. This initiative not only safeguards biodiversity, but also promotes sustainable tourism and supports local economic development. Collaboration between the government and non-profit organizations has led to the creation of public-private conservation funds that secure long-term financial support for preservation projects. In Chile, this fund helps manage and protect designated areas while also encouraging local community involvement in conservation efforts. A hands-on learning program in Chubut Province, Argentina, combines theory and fieldwork, equipping students with scientific skills and a deep understanding of Patagonia's natural history and conservation. Patagonia continues to call out in cold winds and icy light, a reminder that nature must be protected not only through science, but also through the heart. Every small action, from choosing sustainable travel and reducing plastic waste to supporting conservation organizations, is a concrete step toward preserving this fragile ecosystem. Be part of the solution, not only for Patagonia, but for life on Earth, where we all share the same breath. If you've been to Patagonia or dream of setting foot there, what is it you most want to discover? Feel free to share your knowledge and experiences in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to join us on the next incredible adventures. Or continue exploring the survival stories of wildlife in other regions at the Antarctica, survival in the realm of giants, or wild Amazon. Mysteries of the ultimate predators.